Do you ever find someone in office typing way too loud and it's annoying the heck out of you? Well, I'm the guy that you complain about. And this was what I've been using for the past year or so. This is the QK65. I got this keyboard off of a trade. I built it with Loop Poseidons and EPBD Grayscale. Yes, a gorgeous backweight, but unfortunately will never see the light of day. But it is overall a very minimalistic looking board. And nope, I didn't get fired, I just got a little loud in the end. Not to mention, I find the QK65 a little lacking in terms of its functionality because, well, it is after all a 65% layout. I often find myself trying to recall a layer map for things like page up, page down, and using function more often than I like to access the F-row keys. All these little 500 milliseconds to 1 second breaks are all it takes to take me out of the zone that I'm in doing creative work or just, regular work. I needed a larger layout for productivity. I needed a TKL or 10 keyless. Sure, I can go for a 75% that can solve these problems too, but I don't quite like the aesthetics of it compared to a TKL. Personal preference, nothing more, nothing less. I'm pretty used to using the keys on my laptop, so I definitely don't miss the numpad. And I figured I can probably make do with a TKL. Another feature I find myself constantly looking out for is Bluetooth connectivity. Unlike my home setup where I have plenty of space to spruce things up, I don't have much on my work desk. I'm an engineer by day, so there are lots of electrical boards, wires, components, and what have you sitting at my desk. The ability to shift things about on my desk so that I can do some minor prototyping work is very useful. And so having a wired keyboard is anything but. Budget-wise, I'm not that concerned, but regardless, the good news is that there are only a few options available to look at that fits this bill. And one of it, which is what I'm building today, is the Zoom TKL Essential Edition. Zoom TKL, like the name suggests, is a TKL board made by the people at Menatrix. For noobs, beginners, there's also the Assemble Edition aside from the Essential Edition here. The difference between these two is that the Assemble Edition is basically a pre-built keyboard, complete with keycaps, switches, stabilizers. I do not own an Assemble Edition, so I cannot speak or comment on the quality of it right now, but I'm most certain that there are some reviews out there for those of you who are interested in it. The group buy for the Zoom TKL ran from the 15th to the 29th of November in 2022. 3 months later, on the 6th of February of 2023, I received my order. 3 months for a group buy is pretty good by today's standards, and definitely a reasonable time to buy today since it is readily in stock, or rather, available on the second-hand market. For the price of $277, my battery-powered Zoom TKL comes complete with Bluetooth functionality. Other key aspects include its gasket mount design, which I'll share my thoughts more on later, a PCB thickness of 1.2mm, meaning that we should expect more bounce and flex, and a 5 degrees typing angle. A glass composite backweight, but to me really meant a glorified plastic, and I went for a carbon fiber back to complete the stealth look. So the thing about the gasket mount is that it uses gasket slips, unlike the usual Porum foam. This rendition feels... there isn't really much of a difference. If it was Porum foams, I don't think there will be much of a typing difference at all. What is different is in the installation process, which basically means that there's no more lining up of gaskets in the indent of the case. I wish that more design studios would start doing this because it just makes installation so much easier. Coming to my build, I ordered the kit with an aluminum plate. As for the switches, I'll be using these semi-silent linear ones from Jwick. These come great stock, and I literally can't hear any scratch, and the housing is perfectly tight as well. I wish more switches would come great out of the box. I'm also using Staebies because these are easy to tune and easy to get right. And finally, to complete the office theme look, I'm going with GMK Thinkcaps with Novelty Row 1 Artisan in the F13 slot. Before I conclude my thoughts, this is how my new build sounds compared to the old one with the QK65. First off, the keyboard feels cheap. On paper it's made of aluminium, sure. The surface finish is very matte-like given the nano coating that Menatrix is trying to advertise. But I can't help but feel that it is still cheaply made. For one, the weight of the board feels awfully light. I didn't give it a measure, but for an aluminum TKL, it feels a lot like the QK65, if not lighter. There are different grades of aluminium that the keyboard can be built with, Because after all, aluminum is not pure aluminum. It is an alloy comprising of small amounts of other materials like copper, magnesium, silicon, nickel, zinc, and many others. There's 3003, which is more for kitchen use, 6061 for things like boat with high wear and tear properties, or 2024, 7025. The point is there's a ton of aluminum, and while it may not be cheap to fabricate this particular keyboard case, unfortunately, we oftentimes correlate the feeling of being premium with how hefty it feels in the hands. Like, wow, it's so heavy, so it must be expensive to build. The switches though feel great, but I have to say that they are unfortunately anything but semi-silent, so forget being silent. The price tag of this keyboard is very reasonable too, given the many functionalities built into it. Not a lot of keyboards come with so many useful features for such a low price. As for Bluetooth connectivity, latency during gaming is not tested since I'm not a gamer, but from what I can tell, is that it has been great for decluttering. So for those wanting RGB, the glass composite may make some sense, but for my build, the RGB is very well non-existent. It reminds me of the GMK Pro keyboard that I once owned. Overall, if you aren't going for an eye-popping, enthusiast brand, or if you're looking for a keyboard packed full of features, and if you're looking for a TKL, it is very hard not to recommend this Zoom TKL, especially at the price tag it comes at. The guys even sought out LTT and other publishers like Tom's Hardware for sponsored reviews. You can so tell that the marketing is directed at the mass consumer market and less targeted at enthusiasts who are mainly all about the brand and premium materials, which surprisingly comes with much less practicality. I just hope Manatrix will stick around long enough to let an average consumer like me gauge its integrity and its customer service. It would suck if they disappear off the market in like 5 years or so, leaving you with a faulty keyboard without any spare parts to exchange. Alright, that's it. I'm done. See ya.